Hello, everyone. This is Jimmy Cultist back again with another logic video with a little bit of sculpting advice, I suppose. But basically, we're going to be talking about how to take pieces from a sculpt or a puppet and put them onto a blank deluxe puppet. Basically, just a way to transfer parts. Because all parts of a puppet, I will demonstrate here. All parts of a puppet can be separated from the puppet and can be made as separate sculpts. So this, if I made like two of these, I'd have his arms and everything, and I could construct him entirely without any bolts or anything. And once he was in the proper position, I could just add all the pieces to this puppet. And that's what I'm going to be demonstrating today. Or at least, to the satisfaction of anyone involved. Maybe not every single little step will be gone over, but the main criteria will be met, so that you can do it yourself, and you can know all the hazards and pitfalls of such a thing. One thing I would like to announce early on before we get started is that if you have any accessories or armor bits or anything, maybe you go to search and you're like, oh, I want a sword. And you find your sword of choice or something, Whatever it is. I'm just doing that to demonstrate. Make sure that you use L1 and X to scope in to that given object, then use L1 and square to open up its tweak menu, and check this setting right here. Just tap X on there. Make sure that collidable is set to off. This will save you a lot of heartache if you're making a very complex puppet. You don't want to have to go in here and make sure that every little thing is non-collidable. So do that in advance before we get started. Alright. So first things first, easiest way to do this is double tap. If you double tap with X, you will select all the parts. Use the pelvis as the source. You want to double tap on that part. The reason being that if you double tap over here, it's just going to spread outward to the hand instead of the rest of the body. And if you double tap here, it's just going to be the upper torso. The pelvis is sort of considered the nerve system of any puppet. Now, if it's a sculpt, and it's not already a sculpted puppet, like just say it's all separate already, double tapping anywhere will do. It's mainly the bolts which create the system. The central area, like all these bolts weave out from here, if you can see them. Anyway. Let's get started. Double tap and make sure to clone, live clone specifically. You can find this in the tools, and turn this little thing on here. And we're going to press L1 and R2 to copy him, pull him out, and press group. Oh, only need to do it once. Alright, so now we have all the pieces. He's a complete group. And we're going to pull him over here and get our puppet ready. Now, you could T-pose the puppet if you want to. That might help with this process. I think I'll go ahead and do that. And you might want to match the overall, size and space of the puppet. Use the stretch tool when necessary to stretch and expand limbs to fit the puppet you're trying to add the pieces to. Like if you had big long arms, you'd want to use stretch, grab this, extend the arms. But he's fairly humanoid in shape, so this ought to be easy. I'm going to start by scoping in here. We're just going to pull him over, like so. And while we're holding R2, we're going to press L1 and X right on the puppet so that he's inside the puppet's scene, which is this little blue thing. That's how you can always tell when you're in the right place. Little blue thing. Now he's not 100% aligned because, you know, they're a little separate, but it will still work regardless. Then we can just kind of move his arm up like so. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention. Let's go inside here, turn on this. We're going to have to remove all the bolts of this character. Ordinarily, if you were just making a sculpt and you weren't using a pre-existing puppet, you wouldn't even have to remove these bolts because they'd already be non-existent. I guess you don't have to remove the finger bolts. I mean, you might still want the hand to have posability. But we're going to go ahead and remove them. It'll make it easier on us. Alright, we got all of the bolts. Every bolt up, more bolts. Oops. If you ever want to reverse any of your mistakes, just press the left arrow on the D-pad. It'll take you right back. Alright, I think he's all bolted down. Now there is another thing. Double tap. And we're going to open square. We want to make sure he's non-movable. Just go L1 and square to open it up. And open up these individual ones. Just press non-movable. That way he won't be all floppy. And we are going to make the sword immovable as well. Alright, so we can now get down to business. I think I'll stretch the torso just a bit. And this will be difficult, but we can use the hide feature inside our tools to hide him temporarily. And we can still see the vague outline there, so that should give you a clue as to how high we're going to want the torso to be. Alright. Now let's unhide him. And we're going to go ahead and ungroup the entire fellow. First thing we're going to start with is we're going to take this, and we are going to group it with the pelvis. Then we're going to take the leg and group it. I think this is the thigh, if I'm not mistaken. And then the calves, we'll group here. And they don't have to be exactly aligned. And you're probably like, well, won't the bolt position be all off? Yes, it will. But I have a solution for these things. It's a painstaking solution, but a good one. Alright, we're just going to do a quick test to make sure everything is bolted. And going to bolt this with his tummy, if we can find that. It is a little difficult to see occasionally. We can remove the pelvis to make it easier on ourselves. Or I should say hide. And if you want to unhide, just tap this little thing and it'll unhide all the pieces. I'm really into using the more jank method of just, you know, going through with the camera. It's probably not the best way, though. And then we'll go ahead and... Actually, maybe it'd be better just to put his arm down like so. Yeah. I think, yeah, that'd be easier than using the T-pose. Although the T-pose is the professional way, so if you want to be all, you know, what is the word? Professional. Go ahead and use it. Just remember to group every appropriate piece. And the cool thing about groups is you can add anything you want to them, and I'll demonstrate what I mean by that. If you've already created a group, often what I'll do is I'll just take a little paint fleck, just stamp it out, and I'll you know, take it to the blank puppet deluxe, and I'll group it like so. We're not going to do that, but the nice thing about groups is you can add things later, and it doesn't interfere with already existing animations. So if I want to take this this gun here, I can just go into the group, I can just hold it with L2 and press L1 and X to scope in and just add it to the group. And now it's there, and I can just change the shape of things and alter them. It's really useful. So, yeah. Just thought I'd mention that real quick. Alright, we're going to have to get this right. I think this is the neck, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that's the neck. Yeah, that's the neck. This is going to have to be grouped with that. And the head's pretty easy. Just group it with this big bean here. And he's slightly misaligned, which you may have noticed, but that won't be a big problem. And I think it'd be less of an issue if you're starting out in a blank scene and you have grid snaps that there's this guide on the floor. Can't really see it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, this guide on the floor helps you align things properly, I find. But, you know, I wanted a nice scene so that it would look pleasing to the eye rather than a blank scene, so it would be better to do this in a blank environment so that you can properly align everything. But if we want to change his alignment, we can just go inside his group and move this over. As you can see, so we can correct our sloppiness. To a certain extent. We're not being, you know, it's just to show you the way you're supposed to do it. Also, maybe you feel that these blue limbs, you're like, oh, that looks ugly, Jimmy. I don't like those blue limbs. Should I make them invisible? No. Don't make them invisible, because now that you've created a group, you can just delete them, and this now is the new limb by default. Still connected by bolts. Of course, the bolts are going to need repositioning. Move this down a tad. Oops. Gotta get inside the group. There we go. And they're still attached properly, so no problem there. Let's go inside here. It's got to be in there somewhere. There it is. Make sure you're deleting the right part, though. You don't want to do something like that. You can always tell when you're doing that, though, because the bolt will show up indicating that you've deleted a bolt connection. So just reverse when that happens. Okay, so first things first, we're going to have to rearrange the bolts. As you can see, they're really far out. So let's just scope in to make it easier on ourselves. First thing we're going to do is the hands. Blue indicates the outward area, and yellow indicates the base of the bolt, so you want the yellow part to be facing inward toward the elbow. And you can kind of demonstrate the bending right here. So it's going to bend at that point. This can be a little tricky if you want them properly aligned. But since they are a group, you can, to a certain extent, recorrect bad decisions in placement. That's the cool thing about groups. Think of the bolts as the bones of the puppet, and it will make it pretty easy to distinguish where they should be realigned. I also like to make them big because, frankly, they're very small a lot of the time. And just move these in. Definitely we want this to pivot here rather than out there. More toward the center of the limb. I find that precise move really helps for this, but everyone's got their ways, you know, different ways of doing things. Probably better to have it pivot more from this point. Yeah, that's better. That's just about right, honestly. Doesn't seem like it needs that much correction, but maybe move it down a tad, that's what I would say. Almost ready. Of course, we got to correct our elbow joints. And you can move them and press reverse to test it out. Like, test it and then press reverse to undo the position in case you don't like it. The shoulders are roughly aligned. I'm being a little sloppy. And this is where we're going to bend it. Right about there. Let's try the next level up. That should work. And finally the neck actually bends really low. Alright. Now that we've corrected the bolts, he should be more or less stable. Move his arms forward a bit. And there's a little jankiness with the positioning on this, so let's double tap and correct that. Move it back a tad, too. And now let's, see him in action, you know. Go ahead and turn this off so he won't interfere. Might need to set him to forced possession. Make it easier. Seems to be moving okay. He's got all the base puppet movements, so he looks kind of unfinished. But other than that, we're cooking with gas. I always like to turn the motion sensor movement off as well, and auto look, so that he won't be waggling the head wherever the imp goes. The jump animation could use correcting. For some reason one arm is no longer... Probably just some glitch or something. Anyway, that's how to add pieces onto the puppet using scoping. And inside the group you can duplicate and do whatever you want. And it'll be canon. So just keep that in mind. This was at the request of one of our audience members. Can't remember the name, but hopefully you find this helpful for whatever you're doing. And don't forget to turn off the collidability of all the objects within the puppet. Otherwise you're going to have some issues on your hands. Thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts, leave a comment, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. That's all for now. Goodbye.